Buongiorno a tutti. Buongiorno a tutti.
Good morning, everybody. We wait a minute. I'm Alessandra Albarella. I'm a journalist, and for years I have been active in this wonderful world, Eyewear. And today I will speak about new trends. New trends extrapolated from middle this international trade fair. Let's say that I will start with an introduction. We represent ourselves every day, and eyewear helps us in this type of representation. Eyewear helps us who we are, but who we also want to be. And what we are doesn't always correspond to who we want to be. And in the last period, this representation, in a way, has to do specifically with our context, with our reality, who we really are. In the past, we tried to be different, and now instead, it no longer happens. We're more authentic, we're more simple. We are trying to identify our core and not an identity to disclose. Not an identity to hide, but an identity to disclose. And so the attention shifts from the object to the subject. And eyewear design expresses this new attitude that is highly reflected, meditative, by mixing various elements to create a contemporary vision of an ancient yet modern accessory. It is some sort of path, it's a journey, it's an adventure which sometimes takes on the calm colors and organic forms of nature, a landscape, and even a forest, a desert, and it's strange types of inspirations, and sometimes it is influenced by art, music, the great masters of architecture and design, or subcultures, even the verses of a poet, or the flow of water over rocks, or even waves can become the starting point for minimal narration. A movement is reproduced, a quiver, breath, an atmosphere, a reflection, a caress, a sound, and not just static images. The archives or collective imagination give back classic, iconic shapes that are continuously reinterpreted and also reinforced with bold elements in their peculiar characteristics, such as temples. And such classic shapes come together with sculpted lines and microarchitectures, where the protagonists are finishes, laminations, sharp cuts and contrasts between shiny and matte, designed to create intriguing light references and emphasize colors. Colors are important, but let's say that colors are more rigorous this year. And however, you find patterns with varying geometries, from ovals to circles, squares to rectangles, and even octagons. And so we find all geometrical figures, and Also in the past we had geometrical figures, but it's a comeback, and we have so many of them this year. The materials are always treated with wisdom, the famous savoir-faire, with respect. Profiles are softened, corners are smoothed or polished, or deliberately left raw, cut out in a way of eyelashes. There is a general attitude to reduce thickness. We saw last year that instead you had small shapes, important thickness. This year, instead, there's a trend, a specific trend to reduce it, to get to very thin frames, especially in the case of metal, and sometimes frames are absent, rimless, semi-rimless frames, and they represent the quintessence of that search for truth and sincerity we spoke about at the beginning. The commitment to being sustainable goes beyond the matter itself. It becomes more radical and responsible by addressing the issue of waste at the level of the entire production chain. You have Kaizen, it's a system used by many companies, and also lean production. It's a method created in the 50s by a Japanese, and this method actually aims at avoiding waste, and many contemporary companies are using it. And in Japanese, muda means waste, and very often in this trend to try and be more aware of production, you try and avoid unnecessary treatments. And so at Mido, you find glasses, spectacles made from raw sheets. It might seem to be simple, but instead it's a highly sophisticated process. And on the other hand, you have another element that comes to light in new trends: imperfection. Imperfection becomes a constructive element of eyewear, and imperfection is also a prerogative of nature, is typical of nature, and is now part of this aesthetic language. And we see it even more this year. And from imperfection, you can get the artisanal touch, which is an element very important in all collections, combining technology with craftsmanship. You have a very interesting link that you can see through such irregularities and imperfections.
Naturalmente si ricorre.
Then, of course, artificial intelligence is used, and new technologies too. New technologies are, by the way, so cutting edge that support creation at best. And we see that irregular, interrupted profiles are like a sort of interrupted work of art, and they follow a sort of a common thread, a concept, and want to tell a different story with rebellion, with breaking the stereotypes. You may have heard nowadays expressions like genderless and inclusivity. Well, these words get new meanings, new substances, and they may follow rebellious movements like punk or the rhythm of rock and roll and techno music as well. Or they rely on symbols and signs belonging to different worlds, for example, the motorbiking world, and they become sort of a talisman on eyewear. As a matter of fact, inspiration is drawn from masters, from projects. There is a sentence, a quote by Osho saying, give the utmost importance to masters, to projects, to fellows, and this seems to be a sort of a mantra throughout and across all these collections. For those who already have a narrative, as it is the case for companies with a huge heritage and with many archives, well, they always try and resort to archives, to their legacy, by using cross-cutting symbols of their brand, thus creating consistency with the present, a continuity with the past, and they set the foundation for future vision. Of course, this has nothing to do with nostalgia. Quality is much higher than before because, quality and excellence are two indispensable elements across all collections. And this materializes through continuous technological innovation, focusing on excellence and sustainability, of course. As far as colors are concerned, colors are, as usual, very important in order to enhance the value of the matter. And they are also used to stabilize and to make shapes and profiles more dynamic. There are blurred colors that become increasingly important. There are treatments, matte, mother of pearl surfaces, milky surfaces that continuously change the color. Colors seem sometimes to be abstract. There is a large range of red and green hues. Green, for example, is a color that has become increasingly important, as you will see in the collections, and blue as well, with different degrees of depth. Let's now move to the second part of my presentation, and let me go through the trends. I will use images and pictures. By way of introduction, let me tell you that I got inspiration from a work of art from Gino De Dominicis dating back to 1969, Time, Mistake and Space. This is the title of this work, and these are three fundamental elements of the collections. I would add a fourth dimension belonging to these collections, which is care, and care is extremely important. Within the framework of sustainability, many companies try and support customers after the purchase of a product. Services are being offered that may, for instance, allow people to replace damaged parts of the eyewear, or they offer consultancy services on how to guarantee the durability of the products. Durability is very important for the new collections. Products are made to last for a long time. So time, I called this common thread. Many fashion houses too are trying to recover their heritage. Well, again, this has nothing to do with nostalgia, but well, they want to recover and enhance the value of some elements of the past. It's a very thin fil rouge, common thread that is intertwined with the present time beyond a story. And this holds true for eyewear as well. Cross-cutting ties are being established with masters, with one's own roots, ranging from design to architecture and fashion. Many draw inspiration from Dadaism, postmodernism, modernism as well. For For example, the shapes of the past are thus reinterpreted through sculpted materials and artisanal touches. Here, for example, you see a shape, you see the double bridge of the famous aviator or pilot glasses. And this is, by the way, one of the shapes which is being used very often. The key-shaped bridge, for instance, has become an iconic element for older glasses, which is being used very often in drop shapes, and the same holds true with the new bridges and the new materials that are used. Here, for example, you see a pair of glasses which is highly recognizable, the Kirky, and they have been emphasized with bolder lines and with new components. There are new corners, new edges. And then we have, besides classical shapes, geometric shapes, ranging from round shapes, the circle. And by the way, the circle was worn by many architects such as Le Corbusier, or artists like David Oakley. So the circle is always fashionable, and then there are squared, octagonal shapes, or the butterfly shape. And we have evocation, innovation that are extremely important. And then there is a second trend, which is mistake, accepting the imperfection. And this second trend, I called this a second trend rebels. And here you see the fashion shows 2025, you see the hair, the attitude, the piercing. One of the elements that expresses this trend at best is this interrupted, unaccomplished temple with abstract, suspended, interrupted lines. On the right-hand side, you may have recognized the work of art by Piet Mondrian. He used a lot of primary colors. His lines too seem to be interrupted, but I've chosen this picture because in eyewear today, color blocking is becoming increasingly used and widespread. It's about mixing two colors together. So you have to identify two opposite colors and put them together. This is a technique which is used in eyewear too. And Piet Mondrian was the first artist to use this kind of technique. Borders are overcome, and people identify themselves with past cultural and social movements. For example, the punk movement. You find piercing on eyewear as well. In this frameless pair of glasses, for example, the piercings are removable, but as the glasses are transparent, it seems as if this piercing is applied on the skin, thus creating a sort of tie between the subject and the object, between the wearer and the product. It's not by chance that the payoff of Mido this year is refocusing on humans. Here you see another frame from another fashion show, Spring-Summer 2025. And you see a classic shape, the round shape, however, with a lot of charms and piercings. And then here you see another example. It is a rebellion, however, a sort of romantic, utopistic rebellion that follows the rhythm of music, such as techno music, rock and roll, and narrow, elongated shapes are back in fashion. The same holds true for accessories. As you see, then dwell on accessories, colors and shapes later. However, accessories become somehow independent. They are no longer dependent on their function. The chain, for example, if you take off the glasses, the chain can be used in many other occasions, also without glasses. Imperfection, the unexpected, are important to redefine the concepts of inclusion and gender neutral. As you see, the shapes, the masculine shapes, change a little bit. They somehow overcome the borders. They become softer, larger. And again, the shape reminds of design, architecture, and many other elements of our life, because we are surrounded by suggestions and stimuli that somehow influence us. Stereotypes are overcome in order to express uniqueness and a new type of freedom, which is not only a creative one. The third trend is solar wind. What do I mean by that? The solar wind is a phenomenon that underlies the creation, the generation of the northern lights, and is even able to shift the tail of comets. Is a great force which is also studied by science, and it's a sort of dynamic driving force that continuously changes shapes and transforms the matter. And here you see a couple of examples. Here you see a piece of design and a pair of glasses that in this case draws inspiration from a wood, from the water flowing on a stone, on a rock. So I do not want to reiterate, but they look like haikus, like short poems. The continuous transformation of shapes can be seen here, to shapes that seem not to be connected to each other. They seem to be abstract, although they are made of materials. There are attractions, mutations, metamorphoses, magnetisms. The shadow, the desert are sources of inspiration too. You see the waves of the desert are reproduced on the frame thanks to technology, thanks to innovative 3D technologies, but also thanks to craftsmanship and savoir-faire. Presence and absence are closely intertwined. The material that is composed and decomposed continuously. Metal that seem to be free of gravitational effects. Metal becomes extremely light, and color becomes flowy too. It is as if the metal becomes a container for a liquid. There are asymmetries in color, and you see light, you see abstraction coming out continuously. The matter becomes thus alive, even though it may be acetate with a stable color. Well, the matter is composed and decomposed continuously, and color seems to be liquid. Water, stone, and wood are becoming increasingly important, and there are glasses that are made of wood. Here you see how matter is important and how much similarities between words are evident. Here you see a vase that was shown at the Salone del Mobile, and you see a pair of glasses with the same color nuances. Volumes are sometimes organic, endless, sensual. Again, they seem to follow gravitational waves and to be impacted by energy. In space, there are no limits. And this is the end of my presentation. And this is a drawing by Pablo Picasso. Picasso used to make these drawings for children. He used to draw on a sheet of paper. And I like closing my presentation with this picture, but my presentation is not over yet, because I'm now going to dwell on the different themes. Again, stories are important, and Picasso used to tell stories to children. When you visit Mido, you will realize that there are a lot of stories to tell, also as far as eyewear is concerned. Now let me focus on materials, on the latest trends as far as materials are concerned. In line with the Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development by the United Nations, companies will continue to develop their awareness and sustainability path by using recyclable materials and circular economy. Combinations between different materials being created. Recycled polypropylene and carbon are used together, for example, or as it has been the case for many years, plastic waste from the ocean is being recycled to manufacture ribbons. But companies increasingly produce their own materials with their own names. And so there are differences between those and among those materials generated from plastic waste coming from the seas, and they are different depending on the companies it comes from. And this applies to the entire supply chain, and the utmost goal is to reduce waste. Besides acetates, at Mido you will find also companies that using biocircular materials for the first time. There's an increasing number of companies which are focusing on sustainability, on environmentally friendly processes, and on this ethical dimension.
Apart from bioacetate and recycled acetate, we also find resins from castor beans or plants and post-consumer recycled polycarbonates that are GRS. I don't know if you know what GRS stands by, Global Recycled Standard. From nature, they take almost everything, just like leaves, flowers, peacock feathers, wood and stone, to be imprisoned, sometimes in transparent acetate to enhance beauty. These are complemented by other fine materials, including buffalo horn, semi-precious stones. As for metals and alloys, on the other hand, the objective is to achieve optimal comfort and lightness. Goals are achieved, especially with beta, titanium, magnesium, and stainless steel that can be recycled. Performance and resilience, allow me to use this abused term, are other elements to create metal alloys and shape memory elastomers, because strength and durability are keywords of new collections, whose life is also extended through the creation of services by manufacturers to guarantee the replacement of parts and the possibility of repairing damaged models. Other details include gold plating And the use of crystals or precious, semi-precious stones that elevate glasses to jewelry. And however, it's an indication of a high level of craftsmanship, colors. There's return to a reassuring classicism, increasingly using Havanas and black, sometimes the absolute protagonist combined with very dark lenses, while nature influences a range of warmer shades such as ivory, amber, caramel, brown, khaki and mocha mousse, Pantone color of 2025. Such basic colors are complemented by a color palette that include gray, red, burgundy, blue, green and purple in their various shades and interpretations. You always have personalization of colors by companies. For example, orange, simple orange, it's made up of red and yellow pigments. Depending on the quantity of pigments you're putting, everything changes. And everything changes, even if also when you create matte or transparent frame. In practice, how can I say? You have a more limited color range, more rigorous choices made by brands. For example, single color or color locking, originally used by the painter Piet Mondrian, but there are other hues, just like pink or vitaminic ones, such as yellow or orange. The combination with materials creates unique alchemies, also emphasized by other opaline, milky or mother-of-pearl treatments that make some colors almost abstract. This is a novelty. There are new hues defined by the recycling of materials, because each time you cut a plate made with recycled acetate, the color changes. It's blended, it's mixed color. Many luxury companies use such recycled acetate. Shapes, classic shapes, and especially the timeless teardrop, penta and cat eye are reinterpreted and made contemporary by perhaps making use of bold details with the exaggeration of certain construction elements, just like the temples and these are joined by geometric shapes ranging from oval to square, rectangle to circle to octagonal perimeters. Glasses become microarchitectures studied in minute detail and balance. They're often inspired by movements or icons of the past, but also periods that contributed to change common sense of aesthetics and ethics with cross-sectional suggestions ranging from music to art, from fashion to art cinema, such as the 50s, 60s and 70s, while continuing to draw some suggestions from the 80s and 90s as well. There's at times a greater softness in the lines that become sensual thanks to a combination with materials, with a tactile experience, or other times a tendency to a reduction in thickness prevails until arriving at the very thin metal frames, almost evanescent, in line with the look aimed at Scandinavian minimalism. Then the presence of narrow, limited size glasses is reaffirmed as well, and an extremely important concept is included: imperfection as a sign of distinction, but also of inclusion, of uniqueness, as well as making craftsmanship visible. The gesture, the hand, the heart always important elements, accessories. Well, accessories play an important role. Also, last year we saw that such accessories are very important, but also accessories just like eyewear, cases, and so on and so forth. This path of enfranchising accessories from a simple role of appearance becomes visible and continues. You saw that wonderful chain before. They become independent of their own function thanks to finishing touches and aesthetics that follows fashion and contemporary lifestyle, also drawing inspiration from jewelry, especially small chains, and connections are made with other worlds and scenarios such as streetwear, for bold multi-material eyewear necklaces, while cases extend their world to the universe of versatile handbags and purses that, in addition to eyewear, can hold cell phones, house keys, and other personal belongings. For example, that's the main use of such cases. There is a strong comeback of clip-ons, also magnetic ones, which simplify the attachment to eyeglasses. Clip-ons were worn by older people in the past, and now instead clips-on are appreciated by the youth. The focus is practicality. Gestures are renewed, and also while you put on eyeglasses and you put them back into a case, everything has changed. Luxury, for example, is another key element of these collections and is expressed also through 24-karat gold plating. And also in the case of spray bottles for lens cleaners, there are refillable spray bottles which are gold plated. And in the case of eyeglasses, you have 18-karat, 24-karat gold plating, precious eyewear for luxury collections. And in the case of cases, preference is for genuine leather and felt. I am through with my presentation at this point. I hope you appreciated it. If you have questions, I'm available. Thank you so much. Don't be shy.
C'è qualcuno che vuole...
Does somebody want to ask questions? We have 7 minutes.
Nessuno.
Nobody. Okay.
Nessuno vuole fare domande? Dai. Io ce n'ho uno. Vieni qui, Francesca. Ecco.
Buongiorno. Grazie Alessandra per questa presentazione.
Alessandra, thank you so much for your presentation. I have a question for you. Everything was very interesting, but brutalism. And it's also contemporary with such finishes. Can you say something more about the finishes you imagine for this trend? Yes. Thank you so much for your question. As you know, there's also a movie, it's a very strong trend. The movie, The Brutalist, that has just been released in theaters. because external life always affects, how can I say, accessories and eyewear. So how is it expressed in eyewear? It is expressed through raw plates and matte surfaces. Materials, for example, you have eyewear made with stone and imprisoned in acetate. And the idea was to create eyewear expressing the flowing of water over stone. And stone remains rough, and it is visible through acetate, transparent acetate. Or, for example, horn. While coming here, I saw that you have precious eyewear in buffalo horn, and obviously everything is ethically correct, everything is certified, and also what, for example, such surfaces, materials coming from nature, materials taken from nature, such materials, their beauty lies in authenticity. That's authenticity. Iron, aluminum, for example. And how can I say? Those effects of wear that some eyewear may have, it's an added value. Everything becomes an added value. That's what is brutalism. Brutalism attached priority to matter, function more than aesthetics, sweetened aesthetics. For example, the offices of Rai in Rome, it's brutalist, but it's made of iron. And it's an almost unique example of brutalist architecture, but in iron. And now it's been restored, and it's very interesting as a concept. It's wonderful because it coincides, everything coincides. We live in a world full of stimuli, and also in eyewear. Other questions? 2 minutes.
Grazie Francesca.
Grazie per la...
Thank you so much, Francesca. Thank you so much for the presentation. Yesterday, I was walking through Monte Napoleone. I wanted to see what trends are. In the case of spring or now, not before the summer, here you find autumn-winter collections, just like in fashion you have carryover collections. Another element is represented by timeless. I spoke about it last year, and this year it has been changed because they create collections that should last long. There are certain collections, certain companies, for example, that pay so much attention. For example, just like I said, they repair eyewear and horn eyewear. They give you instructions on how to take care of the material, and because such materials are alive, and so they give you instructions how to keep them alive. And then you have the element of time, which is important because eyewear that changes aspect in the course of time, it's an added value. Eyewear that changes color, that, for example, the tactile material becomes a bit more soft, for example. It's so important. It's an added value. These are abstract elements, and at the end, It's certain values that we communicate in our choice of eyeglasses. That's why I told you that eyewear, even if eyewear is dark, eyewear doesn't want to hide but disclose. And something else about lenses. There's a comeback of light lenses, slightly muted colored lenses to use in the winter, for example, or indoors, for example. Indoors. And not just in the sun. Thank you so much. That's it. That's good. Thank you so much. At this point, no other questions. Thank you so much. And I hope you enjoyed it. Goodbye.